Hey everybody, Laura from Create here, getting ready to do our tile fused glass bowl class, and I'm just waiting for everybody to come on. This is a super easy project to do at home, so you can, any of our classes, any of our classes, you can still get kits after the class is over, and just follow along with the video and do the class. So if you happen to tune into this later and you decide that you want to do this project, just give us a call. Hey Bran, nice addition of the Tito's there. All right, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes because I know that we have a few more people that bought kits. So just waiting on people to pop in here. This is going to be a super easy one, super easy, because I can't make you do all the things I'd make you do in class if we were doing it at the studio. So I am going to give you just a couple of sort of heads up things. Okay, so first of all, you should have had in your kit a grid like this taped to a piece of cardboard and a thing of glue, a paintbrush, and a whole bunch of little bags of glass tiles. Now, I will put the warning out there. This is glass. You could potentially cut yourself on it if you run your fingers along the edge or something. It really should not be sharp for the most part, but just, be a little cautious. It is glass. So if I were teaching this class at the studio, I would tell you all about glass, and maybe I'll still do that for a couple minutes. And I would show you how to cut and break your own glass, and I would show you all the tools that we use to do glass in studio. But of course I couldn't send all my tools home to everybody, so I did all the prep work for you. I will give you a little bit of a background on glass if you're unfamiliar with it. So people will ask if, they say they have a piece of stained glass or something at home, and they ask, oh, can I fuse it? And the short answer to that is no. And the reason is because all the glass that we use has been tested for what's called the coefficient of expansion. And that means that when the glass heats and cools, that it expands and contracts at the same rate, so that if you have layers of glass, they're all moving at the same rate and they don't break. If you take glass that has not been tested and you put it together, it can have completely different coefficients of expansion, and therefore it could end up snapping or breaking either right when you do it, or, hey Angela, either right when you put it together or later on down the line. So it's really important to use glass that has all been tested. Glass generally wants to be 1/4 of an inch thick. So if you full fuse, and when we say full fuse, what that means is that we melt it to a temperature where 2 layers of glass will become one solid sheet. So even if you had two, we always start with, not always, because this project doesn't. Usually we start with a solid background and we build a second layer on top of it. If we full fuse that, it takes it to one solid flat sheet. The type of fusing that we use here and in some of our other projects is called tack fusing. And that means that we're just heating it enough to make the 2 pieces glue to each other in the kiln. So when you're doing tack fusing, it's not as important to have 2 solid layers, because it's not trying to get to 1/4 of an inch thick. But when you do a full fuse, it wants to be that thick, so it's really important to have 2 full, nice covered layers. I can't tell you about tools and stuff because we're not using that. So that's your 5-minute, not even, lesson on glass. And hopefully when we get back open, you'll come in and you'll try a fused glass project, because all of our fused glass projects are walk-in. You can walk in any day. Well, when we're open, you can walk in any day and do a fused glass project. Okay, so let's start talking about this a little bit. So the trick to this is all in how the glass is put down. Okay, so we're going to start with, when you look at, let me get this out of the way. Okay, when you look at your paper here, you have rows that go all the way to the outside, and you have rows that go in one. We're going to do all the rows that go all the way to the outside first, and then we're going to do the rows that go on the inside. So what we're going to do is my color combination is going to be reverse of what you guys are all doing, just so that I didn't end up with a second one exactly like this. But we wrote the colors in across the top and across the top and down the side, and then we put letters in each of your boxes, right? Okay, so what we are going to do is you are going to go row by row, and we're going to glue our tiles right to this piece of paper. This is a special piece of paper that is used in the kiln. The glass doesn't stick to it, but the paper also doesn't burn off. So you're going to return your piece to me right on this cardboard and on this piece of paper, and this piece of paper is going to go right into the kiln, and that's how we're going to fire it. Okay, so you're going to, and we don't need a huge amount of glue. All we're trying to do is keep everything in place until I can fire it. So you're going to take your tile, and you're going to put a little dab of glue right in the middle, and you're going to put it on top of that first square. Oops, let's try and get this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay, you know what? I'm going to tilt this a little bit more. There we go. Okay, then you're going to Okay, then you're going to take your second color tile, and remember, I'm doing this in reverse of the colors that you guys are doing. And you're going to put a little dab in the center, and you're going to put it in the second space. And you're going to keep on going down the line like that. Okay, so you're going to do the third one. Little dab of glue right in the center. And just keep on going until you have that whole first row glued down and relatively straight. Okay, so then we're going to go down the side. Okay, so then I want you to, so now I got to figure this out because I'm going backwards. So I had to make sure I could figure out what colors I was doing here. So I'm doing the opposite, you guys. There it is. I blue, teal, and green. Blue. And I gave everybody a couple of extra pieces, mostly in case something was cut really wonky and like you had a piece that was way, way too small or something like that. If when you bring back your finished piece, and make sure that you write your name on the cardboard so that I know whose is whose, please. When you bring back your finished piece, if you can bring back any glass that's left over, that would be great. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start going across on the same row as these. Okay, so you're just going to this is going to be like a really quick class, guys. You're just going to start filling in across the row with the color that is supposed to be there. Okay. And so what you should end up with is, see how I'm like ending up with a checkerboard with spaces? That's what your piece should start to look like. Okay. I just drew little lines on mine going down instead of the actual letters. Probably would have been so much easier if I drew little letters for myself, but I didn't. And so, of course, now I have things a little more complicated, but that's okay. All right. So now that line should look like that. And we're just going to keep on going. Just keep on going. So did anybody tune into our Facebook Live sale the other night? It went really good. We introduced all new pieces. They were very cool. And it went so well that I'm going to bring in more new pieces. Because, you know, I have to do something to not, like, get bored and stir crazy. So new pieces it is. There we go. So is everybody doing all right? We're all, hi, Edie. Hey, Belinda. So we just keep on going. So like I said, if we were at the studio doing this, I would have made you cut all these silly little squares and stuff. And that would have taken up some time. But hey, everybody will be back at their computers or their TV probably by 8 o'clock. Let's see. The light in this room, really awful. I'm having a hard time seeing what colors are what. But that's okay. I can figure it out. So we just keep on going. Ooh, see, like that one. That one, I'm going to pull that off there. Except if you do pull it off, turn it upside down so that if you need it later, it isn't accidentally glued to your paper. But that particular piece just looked a little on the small side. So I wanted to make sure that it was covering enough of the space. Oops. I don't know, it's kind of like some weird puzzle, right? Like when you look at it in the studio, it looks so complicated. But then when you see how it's put together, you go, oh, now it makes sense. People get really intimidated working with glass, and really it's my favorite medium to work in. I think it's a lot of fun. You can be super creative. It always comes out so different when it comes out of the kiln. It's amazing how it looks. Like all these sort of jagged edges and stuff, you don't have to worry about it because they're all gonna round up and soften, and they're all gonna look perfect when they're done. I had to, obviously I'm at home doing this. I had to close the windows behind me because the sun must have been casting, like, must have just been in such a place that like everything had this weird like brownie orange hue to it. It was a little odd. Alrighty, so we're almost done with the first layer. All right, so this may be more like a, we're at what, 15 minutes? This may be a half hour, 40-minute class by the time we're done with this. And I'm not using a huge amount of glue, because if you use too much glue, it can leave weird little marks sometimes. So I'm trying not to overdo the glue. I'm just, you know, just enough to glue it to the paper. All right. Another piece that might be a little on the small side. All right. So there we go. All right. So I have my first layer done. Let's see if we have any questions here. Sorry, just joining now. Hi all, what are you making? It'll take Carol 3 hours. Wendy, we're doing, this is our fused glass tile bowl. And like I was saying earlier, I leave all the videos up, and I'm also going to try and download them all and put them on a YouTube channel. I way beyond my sophistication level. There we go. I can talk. I can, honestly. But so any of our classes ever that if you have seen the video for, but you didn't get to buy the kit or something, just give us a call. We'll put together a kit, watch the video, follow along. So you can always do something later on. All right, well, Bryn, I have to tell you, if it's going to take Carol 3 hours, because I know she's like a perfectionist, she's probably got a ruler out, right? And she's probably like lining up all the edges and stuff. But you get it, and she can keep going. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the top layer on. Sort of same progress that we've been going, except this time what you're going to do is you're going to put a little dab of glue in each corner. Okay. Oops. Dab of glue. I don't know if you guys can. No, you probably can't see that. But I have a little dab of glue. Oh, you can see it shiny. See? A little dab of glue in each corner. And make sure that it overlays all 4 pieces that it's supposed to be next to. Okay? And so again, and remember, I'm doing an opposite color combination from you guys. I'm doing it in reverse. So then you just start laying these guys on there. Oops. That's anybody who hasn't tuned in to one of my Facebook live classes. I have a funny little habit of making really odd noises when I do these classes. I don't know why. I just do. I don't know, silly things come out of my mouth. But then again, if you watched any of my live sales, you know that silly things come out of my mouth during those too. So it's just who I am. If you can't have fun with, you know, with what you're doing, then it's not worth it. Oops. There we go. So that's what the first row looks like. All right. And All right, who threw up an angry sign up there? Come on now. All right, and then we just keep on going. So you just keep on going. They said this is probably the easiest fused glass project that we have, because once you have all the little squares and stuff cut, it's literally just following the pattern. Now, I am sure that there are people out there who can look at this and come up with some really like stunning pattern that they would do. I guess like if you're a quilter, this is probably like a really good, this is probably right up your alley. If you're the type of person who works with lots of different patterns, I imagine that people could come up with some really phenomenal patterns. This is about as complicated as my brain will let me get for this. But yeah, like, so, you know, if you have, if you ever decide you want to do another one and create your own pattern, just count up how many squares of any given color that you would need, and let me know. And hi, Gail. What are we making? We are making this fused glass tile bowl. So, like, I always have trouble. There you go. See, once it's fused, it'll be in sort of a bowl shape. Yeah. Super easy project. This is like I said, you can, any of our classes that we do online, you can always call the studio and get the kit for and rewatch the video and do the class yourself. I'm gonna move that piece over a little bit. All right, how's everybody doing? All right, we're doing good. And for anybody who's sort of just joined in, I am doing the opposite of what I just showed you. That's why mine doesn't look quite like that, because I didn't need to have two samples in the studio that were identical. So, Wendy, are you any relation to Wayne? Because I used to own a gift store on Main Street that was in one of his buildings. And keep on going. And the nice thing about doing it into that bowl shape is that it, you know, even if you have it sitting on a table or something, it lets the light get underneath and behind it. And it's just so pretty. It's really pretty sitting on a table. And it's pretty durable. I mean, I would not drop it on a floor. But when the glass is fused, it's pretty tough. So every now and then, just make sure that all four of your corners are catching all four of the surrounding pieces of glass, okay? Like I've had to adjust a little bit to make sure that they're actually touching, or else we'll end up with a hole there if you don't, because it won't have anything to fuse to. And I was laughing at. I asked if Wendy. You heard me ask if Wendy was related to somebody I know, and she said no. She has no relatives around. She scared them all away. So I was laughing. Hey, everybody doing all right? I was gonna, this is, I said this is like about as complicated as I can get with patterns, right? So, because I was like, maybe I'll do one that's just, like shades of blue. And it's been so, things have been so crazy that I just like couldn't wrap my head around trying to lay out an all blue pattern. And I was like, nope, you know what? I can't think that hard. And I think I'm just gonna go in reverse. And I had to sit here for a couple minutes before I came on and go, okay, so if I do this in reverse, what order do I have to do these in? Because I did not write my reverse order on my paper. I wrote the order you guys have on my paper. And so I had to actually give it some thought, because let me tell you, doing the studio as take home and all that, and not having people in the studio to paint is so much harder. You would think it would be so much easier. No, it is so much harder. And then today we're doing a legacy wall project. I won't say for what school, because I don't know if they're making it a surprise or not, but a school that we normally participate in one of their fairs. Since they can't have a fair, they're going to do a legacy wall for 200 students. So we are putting together 200 tile kits for students for that legacy wall. So there were like bags and paint cups and everything everywhere today. But we are finally able to slide that one a little. We are finally able to have people at least come in to browse. So you can come to the studio masked up. We ask you not to touch anything. If there's anything you want, we'll pull it from the shelves for you. But you can at least, you don't have to guess at colors and stuff like that. You can come in and look at the colors and look at the product that's on the shelves, and do some shopping that way. And your support is greatly appreciated. Because it's gotten a little quiet. It was really like when all this stuff first happened, we were really busy, I think, because the kids weren't in school and nobody knew what to expect, and nobody had gone shopping to have anything to keep the kids busy. So in the beginning it was really busy, and now it's gotten quieter. It's definitely gotten quieter. All right, I don't know about you guys, but I'm almost on my last row here. So yep. Had to look for a second. I thought I was doing the wrong color. I was doing the wrong color. Just had to double check. Go, is this real? Do I have the pattern right? I think I do. I think I'm good. Okay, I'll twist him. All righty. And one more piece. Okay. So my piece is done. Hang on. Let's see if I can try and show you. Hopefully nothing slides, but that's sort of what it should look like when you're finished. It should just look like a really complicated grid or quilt pattern. Oops, see, when I did that, things slid. Okay, don't lift yours up to show somebody. So now I'm going to sit here and I'm going to make sure that everything is covered again, because I slid some of my pieces by showing you guys. So like I said, you do want to give it a look over and just make sure that all four corners are touching the pieces of glass underneath them. And you're just going to let this dry. And then whenever it's convenient for you to drop them off back at the studio, you're just going to bring them back to the studio, write on the piece of cardboard like this, write your name and your contact information, your phone number, right on the piece of cardboard, and we will get them all fired up. It takes 2 firings. So yeah, I'll get to you in just 1 second, Wendy. Excuse me. It takes 2 firings. So the first time we fire it flat, and that puts all the pieces together, gets them all stuck together. And then the second time we fire it into the shape. And I only have, I think, 2 of these molds. And I think we had 8 people do the class. So, so it'll take a couple of firings. So it'll be a few days, maybe or something, a week or 10 days. But we'll get them all back here. Okay, Wendy, your question. You purchased 3 items the other night. Do you call ahead and then come down and pick them up? Or will I be? We do not, Wendy. So we are not allowed to have in-studio painters yet. So yes, you call the studio and pay for them, and you can either tell us what color paints you want when you call to pay for them, or when you come, you can come inside and look at the paint colors, and we'll box or package up your paints for you. You take it home, you paint it at home, and then you bring it back to us to fire. Okay? Anybody else have any other questions, comments, anything like that? Like I said, you should all have a couple of extra pieces of each color. If you could just return those pieces to the studio when you bring your glass in, I would greatly appreciate it, because fused glass because it has been tested, is crazy expensive. But I wanted to make sure that, you know, if we had an oddball sized piece in there or something, that you had all the glass that you possibly needed. All right, guys, let's see. If you guys don't have any questions, I'm probably going to sign off. And don't forget that, like I said, we are open for browsing. You can't paint in the studio, but we are open for browsing. Let your friends know, because it's been really quiet. I don't think people have realized that we're allowed to have people come in and browse yet. And we just got in a whole bunch of new stuff. We're going to set it all up in the front window. Wendy saw it because she watched our live of our reveal. But all right, y'all have a good night. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Okay, bye.